Welcome to another episode of the Tough Crowd podcast. I'm Maisie.
I'm Emma.
And I am J-Fi. You know, like J-Lo, but J-Fi, like...
Mom, if you do this one more week, you might be kicked off the podcast.
Yeah, so far we're almost like per episode someone's leaving at this point, so we gotta hold on tight and you're not helping yourself.
J5. Did you ask ChatGPT for a nickname?
No.
She's been on a ChatGPT train.
It's like J-Lo, but J-Fi.
But what's Fi?
Like for filler, F-I.
That may be worse than Mama J.
See, that's my whole game, though.
To get back to Mama
either.
J. But no one's ever called you either of those things, so you can't make your own nickname.
If you said Jenny, perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So let's go with that.
I am Jenny. Just Jenny.
I also was a minute late because I was making my coffee and I put the straw in and somehow with my hand and it flung through the sky like that, and it's glass, and then it shattered on the floor. And so then I'm screaming at Otis, stay away, stay away. And then he picked up a big piece of the glass and was...
You would think that's funny.
It's funny because he's fine.
Meanwhile, Louis swallowed an entire golf glove last night.
Okay, he didn't swallow it.
It was like the
drama.
Was sticking out of his
like a clown or what's like a magician pulling it out of his
Mom
throat.
and I had to literally chase him around like
you watched him do it
times. No, because we were like, where's Louis? And then
she left her door open.
Because there's nothing in here. It's perfectly clean.
There was something in there.
No, he dug to the bottom of my trash can and took the glove. And I come in and I chased him around the house.
You should probably get a trash can that has a cover on it. Do you have some $1 million trash can in there?
It's like an antique trash can from some hotel that Mom found on Etsy. And it's pink with bows.
So I think I was saying 15 minutes or so catch up what each of us
Mom,
has been up to.
Just
we really like you sending the podcast with the title already is like the antithesis of what podcasts be.
I hate the title. I'm sorry, it's awful.
What was it? Competence is earned.
Confidence is earned.
Okay, we'll get to it.
That just makes people feel bad.
Well, I think we need to have a vote if we're gonna continue with our social media representative.
Why? We haven't had anything to post because you messed up the last recording.
She's not wrong. Also, Mom, you were posting like when you were involved in the social media. I feel like the whole podcast was on Instagram all of a sudden. Because there were so many clips up. I was like,
because
how many clips are we going to post?
Twice a day.
So people could just watch the podcast.
All I got were, do you have the post scheduled? Are the post scheduled for tomorrow? Please have the post scheduled tomorrow. Are you posting tomorrow?
I'm getting my lip stuff.
Okay, I'm not going to start with your face in the camera.
But look how nice my skin looks.
It does look good. So Emma's lip gloss is our starting point.
And I'm ready now.
What have you been up to?
Bobby and I are moving.
I didn't even know that. Mom told me last night.
It was very sudden because Thursday we got a note on our door being like, hey, your rent's going up X amount. And we realized, oh, wow, we have 60 days to give them notice starting, which was yesterday. Mom said it was yesterday. I think it's today, but I sent the email last night. So then we started contemplating, and I was like, there's this really nice apartment building that's much closer to Boston. So I was like, why don't we go look at it, because I would love to be closer to Boston for my job. And so we went and looked, and they were really nice. So we are applying. I'm going to take one last look at the actual unit today, I think. And we're between a ground floor and a fourth floor, but I think with Otis we're gonna go first floor. Yeah, poor's high, like having to get in an elevator or walk down like 4 flights of stairs. So ground floor that looks into a courtyard, not the parking lot.
So he'll bark at literally everything.
We have 2 months to move. Touring apartments with Bobby is quite the feat because we would go in an apartment and I'd be talking to the woman, like asking her questions, and I just hear the door slam after he goes, I don't like it. And I was like, I'm so sorry about him.
He knows what he likes.
Yes, and then he likes to process things. So if like we get in the car, like I just start firing off all my thoughts, and you have to give me 10 minutes. So I have to sit there in silence, which is very impossible for me to do.
For you.
So that's the plan. We're going to hire movers this time because we didn't last time. And I'm already making a list of all the things I need for the new apartment because that's who I am.
I heard that Bobby wanted the model unit exactly as it
Yes, we
was.
toured the model unit first, just so you could get a sense of what it looks like furnished, because they do look so different and almost smaller when they don't have furniture in them yet. So they showed us the model unit first, which like they literally obviously just keep as is. They don't move it around. And so he was like, "Can we lease that one?" And she was like, "Unfortunately, no, but here are 17 that are the same." And he was like, "No, I like the model unit." And I'm like, "Because it's furnished, you like the model unit." And then mom responds, "I like the model unit too. I agree with Bobby." Because I sent her like they have to do like a virtual
true.
tour.
It's very nicely done.
No.
If anyone could get them to rent you the model unit, it would be Bobby, though.
So Maisie and I got back from a golf tournament in the belly of the beast known as Central Florida. And we had another travel incident. Do you want to talk about it now? Now it extends to restaurants, not just hotels.
Yeah, we've never really had problems at restaurants because I'm a Yelp enthusiast, so I thoroughly look at the reviews. And there's not really that many choices in this town we were in. It was really only Chili's that was available, so we already had that 3 or 4 times. So we tried this Italian restaurant and we walked in and we were like invisible. Nobody wanted to seat us. And finally, like after 10 minutes, they seat us in this back porch.
I'm glad you weren't with.
It took us like 20 minutes to get water. Then we finally ordered, and it took us about half an hour to even get our salads.
Only
And
after I asked and said,
Only after she asked. And then the guy at the table next to us sent his chicken back because he said it tasted funny. And so I dived further into the Yelp reviews as we're waiting. And the first review that pops up was some guy's daughter throwing up from the chicken there
Oh no.
after I had ordered the chicken. So we collected our cash, gave it to the waiter, and said, "We're out." And we went to Chili's.
Did you eat the same thing at Chili's every night?
I got like this Mexican bowl, and then I switched it up to the chicken tenders.
I have a new appreciation for Chili's after being at this other restaurant the same night and going to Chili's. And yes, it is Chili's, but the service at least was excellent.
I love
People were waiting
Chili's.
on you and focused on getting your food quickly, your drinks quickly.
They have the
This
best
other
lava
place-
cake.
This other place, they had many people working there, and it was a disaster.
I also can imagine mom standing before you guys got seated yelling, "Ah," like she does. No,
When the woman said, "Do you want to sit on the patio?" Maisie and I looked unsure, so we followed her through the restaurant, and Maisie thought we were going to have to go through the kitchen to get to the patio.
Oh my
but we
God.
did. So it was a surprise when we got back out there, but it was the bright lights of Broadway on the patio. It felt like you were on a center stage, and these other people had obviously had their appetizers for a long time because the dishes were just sitting there.
ew.
So it wasn't a good sign from the beginning. And then when we went to pay, I calculated about what the salads were. And so we took out cash and I walked into the dining room to give it to the waiter. And he said, "Let me look up if that's enough." It was taking him too long. And I just said, "Here's the cash. We're out. We're leaving." And we marched through the restaurant, and all the same people were sitting there that were there when
Oh,
we
wait.
got there.
There's this really nice restaurant in Boston, Lola 41. So they have one in Florida
Mm-hmm.
too. And Bobby and I
Horrible
went
service here.
one time. What?
The horrible service.
Yeah,
here.
Bobby and I
That
went
was
one time.
one bad experience.
We had a reservation and we had to wait like 30 minutes at the bar, which I was like, okay, that happens a lot in Boston actually, just with how busy the restaurants are. So I was like, fine, we'll get a drink. But Bobby's already like tapping his foot, like this is not gonna work for me. And it had been raining out, but it like got sunny and it was summer. And they're like, okay, your table's ready. And they bring us outside and it literally looked like they took a table and 2 chairs from like the back alley and put them out there for us because Bobby kept asking like when our table was gonna be ready. And so Bobby just takes my hand and keeps walking because it was like a patio that you could exit. He was like, "We are out of here," and didn't even say bye. And I was like, "I'm just." That was like 3 or 4 years ago, and I'm going to Lola with a bunch of my friends in a couple weeks, and he was like, "You're going back there?" And I'm like, "It was like 3 or 4 years ago." And my friend made a reservation. I'm not going to be like, "Actually, one time Bobby made me storm out." Like, I think I'll be okay.
Any man that's associated with the Filler family has a low tolerance for bad service. They appreciate good service. So if it's bad, they are soured.
Yeah.
And
But
you
they won't admit they're sour. They're like, everything's fine. And I'm like, well, you
no,
look
as
like you're
they're,
actually going to punch
sweating,
someone.
looking around.
My birthday dinner at Lola 40 called here.
42.
No, Lola 41 here.
Yeah.
It's what's
Isn't
it
it
in
all
Boston?
for the 41?
Oh, it's
Oh.
42 in Boston, and it's 41 in
okay.
Nantucket and Palm Beach.
We did my birthday dinner there a few years ago with the entire family, including Bobby and Justin and Dad, obviously. And the service was horrendous. When we sat down, remember, they put us at this table that was very tight. And so every time the waiter or waitress wanted to come by, Justin had to stand up out of his chair and move his chair in. And so we started getting mad, moved us to an interior table. And then the service was awful. Some of us had sushi, and then the sushi came out.
To
They
their
let you know that happens.
Yeah, it's like a tapas style restaurant technically. So you're supposed to just order food and it's supposed to come out and everyone's supposed to eat it. And they said if you order sushi and then other things from the kitchen, like the sushi's comes out separately. But everyone was still not okay.
They did it in a rude manner. And then Dad started tapping his foot, and Justin was getting mad, and they were starting to boil over. And Bobby was sitting next to me, and Bobby started piling onto it. And I just looked at him and I said, I do not need you to pile onto this stressful situation. And after that, I said, I really don't want to go out with a big group for a birthday dinner because it was not really that enjoyable.
Okay, the thing is, I don't know why it's not in your control. Like, just relax and have fun.
Well,
It's
I know,
not
but
that big of
nobody
a deal.
relaxed and have everybody was.
I
it
was
a
fine.
stress fest.
No, literally this week I was telling Bobby, I think from Tuesday through last night, I ate out every night. And then some lunch because I was in the office. And I literally have now, like, I don't want to eat anymore. Like, I'm so over it. And I was eating good food.
You better change your
ground.
mindset because you promised me we would go to several food spots when you come down.
I know I may fast because Maisie's been Instagram DMing me like today
That cookie
a
though?
1.5
so
pound
good.
cookie skillet.
Where's
Del
Pizza
Rey.
place in Delray. And I'm like, oh
It's
my
really
God.
the sandwiches we're about to
And
go
what pizza
get.
place?
Death by Pizza or something.
Like
we
20
really have
pounds.
to go to Vinny's.
I know. In
Vinny's is
Boca.
number
You're gonna
one.
bulk up when you're here.
Shout out Vinny's in Boca. We've never been, but we hear it's supposed to be amazing. And
Yeah, so you better live up to the.
last time I was in Florida, didn't we drive all the way down to Boca and we're like, we're gonna get
Yes.
Vinny's, and then it was closed.
Yeah, and then we waited
Yes.
so long for that other
Oh,
place, and
yeah.
it wasn't even good.
No, but we couldn't admit it
It's amazing
because it was like this small Italian shop, and we had to wait 45 minutes, and I was just sweating in the corner, gonna pass
What
out.
was the tiniest space to wait?
You didn't even win.
because I got claustrophobic. I started to feel like I was gonna have a panic attack, and I had to get out.
Yeah, and then I ate a whole
Bobby
bag
went-
of chips.
Bobby went to lay down in the car.
Oh yeah, classic.
And I surveyed for our podcast this week, we could do a group podcast all together, maybe like cocktail hour on Friday.
Literally, Mom, when she found out you and Dad were staying, sends me the longest text of an itinerary, and I was like, she was like, so Wednesday night, you're not going to want to go out. I'm like, correct, because we're landing at 8. So yes, we're not going out to dinner. And then she's like, Thursday, pizza. Friday, people are coming over. Saturday, dinner. And Bobby's like, I want to see my friends. Is there time for that? And I'm like, yes. It's not strict, but she just has to have a plan.
Well, with all due respect, I did call Bobby to check in with him to see what he would want to do while he was here.
Oh.
He's just gonna tell you he'll do whatever you want.
No, but I left him a joke message that he took very seriously. I said, hello, this is Maisie Filler's Media Connections. We're looking to sign you up for an interview on the podcast
my
with
God.
Maisie Filler. If your people can call our people, we'll get it scheduled. And he texted Maisie and me and said, it sounds amazing. I'm really interested in the opportunity.
Like he was feeding into the joke.
Yeah,
I
so
don't know if he thought it was a joke.
for everyone wondering, I'm gonna start my own segment that's a branch off of the podcast. It's called The Hot Seat with Maisie. And it's the first guest.
Which I think makes sense because Maisie's obviously the youngest, and when we would bring a boyfriend home growing up, she would eat like just grill them to the
I would
point.
eat
them
them for
alive.
breakfast.
Yeah, like lunch and dinner. Like they would be playing a board game, and she would just make up the
You
rules.
lose.
Make up the rules to the point there was no rules except the ones that benefited her. And so like he was like, I don't get how I lost. And Maisie'd be like, because you do. It's just the rule. And she was like 10, not even.
And she'd be in the back of the car on the way home from school, and we'd be talking about somebody at school dating somebody else at school, and she'd say, "Did they hook up yet?"
No, literally. And she was like 7.
Because I thought
She
that
knew
just
way
meant a
too
little
much.
kiss.
Could have been just a little kiss, but yeah, that's classic.
The other highlight of our travel experience was a true Florida experience. Leaving the hotel, as we're leaving, Maisie said, "Everybody's looking at something out the window," and I was so focused on packing up and getting out of the hotel, I said, "Okay, whatever." We get on the elevator, 2 of the housekeepers get on, and they're talking and looking at their phones, and I see one pulls up a picture of a huge alligator. And I'm thinking, that looks like it's in the parking lot. And then we got down there, and around the corner from where our car was, they were pulling a 10-foot alligator out of a drainage ditch that was behind the hotel, the Holiday Inn Express.
It was actually gigantic.
And
It
I
was
know
huge.
an alligator can't crawl through the toilet, but that's why at night I have to look down into
check?
the toilet, because what if a baby alligator was in the toilet or a snake?
Right.
No,
have-
for me, a snake jumping up and biting my,
My
butt
butt?
cheek is
I
my
have to
nightmare.
say, that has happened in
I
Florida.
know.
Dad
This is
texted me
huge.
today, Nat and I, that he goes, "I'm a Nespresso guy now." He's been using the Nespresso
Yeah,
up
Natalie
north.
changed his life.
Yeah.
He had
You
it
know
at her
why?
house.
You know why? It was under duress because she didn't have a regular coffee maker.
Oh.
Yeah, and he didn't want to drive to Starbucks.
Yes.
And he's wait, this is actually good.
We've been telling him about the Nespresso for a long time, and he hasn't
I've
believed us.
made him Nespresso coffees before, and he says they're not enough coffee because he doesn't like that you have to push one pot in and press go because he likes the pot. But I think because he got a free Nespresso from something, he's into it now.
He doesn't like anything that would imply that he's fancy. He does not want fancy points. So let's talk about what's everybody's topic from in the news. What in the world this week?
Okay, I've been watching that, and I don't know if this is like one and the same of TV and news in the world.
Is it on? Was it on the list in the shared
Mom,
notes about today's podcast?
I looked at your list and nothing sparked my interest. And I didn't
Well,
know half
maybe-
of what you were talking about.
Maybe when you make a list, it'll be more
Well,
interesting.
it
I haven't
actually
seen it
wasn't.
yet.
And you know what needs to get off the list? Justin Bieber Snapchat, and you spelled Bieber wrong from
But
the list.
also, you're acting like Snapchat broke the news. On
Also, Snapchat is the definition of people. It's like Facebook news.
He was
It's
staggering
like page
around
6.
some event.
He
Justin
wasn't.
Bieber was staggering. He was
You're
on
literally
heroin.
making that up.
He did. He looked like he was on heroin. Then he just got off a bender and was
Oh
staggering
my
around
God.
some event.
People are allowed to go on benders and have a night. Anyway, Amazon all women rocket. What the hell does that mean?
Amazon, Jeff Bezos is sending
let's talk
an
about
all-women
this.
crew up to
Oh.
space. Like Katy Perry's on it, and his
Katy
wife,
Perry, Gail King, and his wife.
and some
I-
other people.
I did not realize his wife is a helicopter pilot.
No, she's
you
supposed to be
realize
like. I
that?
think she's very smart and accomplished.
Why are
you
you
hear
just
that?
assuming because she wears sexy tops?
So
That's
did you hear
smart.
that the whole project is sponsored by Victoria's Secret?
Actually?
Yeah,
You're literally making this
they're
up.
wearing lacy
Mom,
jumpsuits.
That's not
not
funny.
even funny.
Because so what? If they
Only
wanted
she
to,
would laugh at this.
want to wear.
I didn't say there was anything.
But you were trying to make a joke,
I know.
and it didn't.
It's
hit.
just like
I
the
think
def.
it's very funny.
I'm just over the like I have so much money, so what else am I gonna do besides send people to space? That's not doing anything for
No, but-
anyone.
Basically, they're not going to space. They pop up and come right back down.
Yeah, like you're all going up there, and this is my last chance. Like I'll take my last chance here on Earth. Like
No.
I ain't leaving.
No, the claustrophobia. In fact, I can feel just sitting here.
I
Can't
wouldn't even
even-
go on the extreme ride
The
at
space ride at
Disney.
Disney.
I can only do the easy
I
level.
see so many TikToks of people who are like, "Oh, let's go on this ride," and then they come out like vomiting everywhere because
Yeah.
it literally is like being thrown into space.
They had Space Mountain. That's the most aggressive one, isn't it?
No.
No, this different ride in Epcot. That's
Oh.
like you get put in a coffin, like you're
It's
going
really
to space,
small.
and it
Oh my
simulates
God,
zero
no
gravity and
way.
the pressure on your body as you take
Yeah.
off into space, and you can do different levels.
I
Yeah, I-
wimped out at the last second for the hard level, and some guy like made fun of me when I was 12.
Also,
For
you
you.
have the world's worst stomach. We all know you would have been
I
like
do.
vomiting everywhere after
Yeah,
that.
I knew it wasn't a good idea.
You could barely go on like the teacups when you were little without coming
Yeah.
off unwell.
Do you remember our Space Mountain ride?
This is what happened. It was a really hot day in California, and Mom was like, fine, I'll go on Space Mountain, which she doesn't go on rides, period. So for her to be like, I'm gonna go on Space Mountain, we were like, okay, Maisie's in the front. It's like Maisie and our cousin, me and Natalie, I think, and then my mom and my uncle behind us. And the whole time, I just hear the most high-pitched, crazy scream, like screeching, like absolute screeching. And I get off, I'm like, oh my God, did you hear that, like, hyena on the Space Mountain? And our uncle, I think, was like, that was your mom. She claimed she was scared that Maisie was going to fly out of the coaster because Maisie was like a little shrimp of a kid. It was just because you were scared of the actual ride.
No, it was because when the guy put the things down on our shoulders, she was like really loose. And she said something like, oh, I feel like this is loose. And then the thing took off. So I started screaming the entire time. And then just when I thought it was done.
Oh, yeah, it
slowed
goes
down, I'm like,
backwards.
oh, I made it. And then all of a sudden it goes backwards. You're like, oh my God. I don't want to.
That's funny.
And then the water ride, was it in the Animal Kingdom? We
Yeah.
went on that
Oh, I cried.
boat.
Oh, you were
'Cause
crying
we were
the whole
so
time.
hot.
Don't
You were
remember
crying
we
the
got-
whole time, and cousin Amanda was like, "You have to stop crying. Like we're already on it
Well,
and getting
and-
soaking wet,
Yeah.
We're on it now. So
And
shut
I-
up.
spinning around in this big thing."
Yeah, I didn't like that one.
No,
We waited in line for 45 minutes. You're going to get on this ride and you're going to like it.
My story that I'm intrigued by is Alex Cooper's network dropping Alex Earl's podcast. Alex Earl is probably like the biggest podcast on that network.
and the
obviously.
biggest like influencer right now.
Yes.
In general?
Yes, in
yeah,
general.
she's
So
really famous.
the theory is that
For what?
for
She just
being an
posts
influencer.
videos.
So she got famous on TikTok like 4 or 5 years ago. She's right between Maisie and I, a couple of years out of college or 3 years out of college now. But she went to U Miami, and she's really pretty, like blonde girl. And she would just post her day in life, getting ready to go out for college. Oh, I'm super hungover now, like very funny, relatable content. And she just blew up, and now is massive. Her and her sister both. She goes to all the fashion weeks, podcasts. Like I almost think she's too big for Alex Cooper's network. And her dad, she comes from a very well-to-do family. Her dad is a very successful businessman in New Jersey and is now managing her. And so the theory is that when you're part of a podcast network, you are giving a lot more ad money away to the podcast network you're part of for the benefit of having that name behind you. But like she doesn't really need it.
I see.
And I saw stuff online and I heard it on the Toast that the first podcast to launch Alex Earl's podcast was Alex Cooper interviewing her. And her
Yes.
dad, Alex Earl's dad, had an affair with his now wife. And the woman he had an affair with was Elliot Spitzer's mistress. She was like
yeah.
the woman he's now married to was like, is used to be like
She
an
had, like, a block
escort.
of
Yes, like a
people.
very
Oh,
high,
okay.
and was known for that. And now they're married and they've been married for a very long time and they have kids. But the theory is that Alex Cooper like had asked a lot of questions about Alex Earl's family, and after Alex Earl had said, hey, I actually don't really want it to be about all that stuff. That's not my story to tell. Can we take it out? And it wasn't cut. And so the theory is that it all started on the wrong foot a couple years ago.
Soured.
And the dad then stepped in as their manager and was like, we're done.
I'm just
So-
surprised that if it started off on a bad foot, then why did she end up signing with Unwell?
But she
off
already
on a
had
good foot?
signed with Unwell when she did that podcast.
Oh, really?
Yes, she signed with Unwell
Oh.
and the Alex Cooper, Alex Earl podcast. So like everyone could get to know
Yeah.
Alex Earl outside of like TikTok.
But I think she does a really good job on her own now that she's with her sister doing the podcast. Because there's some other people on the network. I forget her name, but she has it's like Dirty Martini or something.
I have no idea what you're talking
I
about.
don't
but
know.
Okay.
Someone on the Unwell network, but she doesn't do that well on her own.
Oh, Hallie Batchelder.
Yes.
She's
it's called
crazy.
I'm going with Dirty Martini.
I don't think it's
I think that's Natalie's friend's handle on Instagram,
Dirty Martini.
isn't it?
I don't know.
It's like
It's a quiz
Shout
now.
out.
Shout
extra
out to
dirty.
whoever has.
So
You're
I wasn't
welcome.
that close.
I watched. There's a Devil Among Us on Hulu, which is the Ruby
Oh.
Frankie documentary. And it's
Yeah.
3 episodes, I think, max 4. But they're all out. It is insane. She basically was like a huge. They mom family
Mom
influencer.
influencer.
Yeah, but it was
On
like her whole
YouTube, right?
family on YouTube. 10 years ago, she came about, and it's 6 kids and then the 2 parents. So their YouTube channel is called 8 Passengers because there's 8 of them. Mormon, Utah, classic. And she like started to, there was some weird stuff about her, like abusing the kids, but not full on, just like being really crazy strict. And so she almost got canceled a couple times. And then, like, during COVID, so started 2020, fell into this cult thing with this woman in Utah who was like got banned, her license taken away from being a psychologist, but was still like running this crazy kind of cult vibe thing for women. And the wife fell into it and then really
This other woman was advising moms on
yes.
how to be
Wasn't it
moms.
And
like a
wife.
blog?
It was this
Oh.
woman, Jody Hildebrand. So she was like running it was like seminars and classes you could take for women. But it was really apparently like there's a lot of it in the documentary talking about how it's like just a man hating thing. Oh, you should just hate your husband and he should be the server
out
of your
life,
family.
basically. Yes.
Yeah. There's theories that then Jody moves into the house with them because she claims there's demons in her body and Ruby's you have to protect her from demons. And so there's theories that like they were having an affair and that was the
Yes.
excuse to get her into the house. And at first the husband was fully in on it, like the demons, we got to get the demons out. And then they kicked the husband out of the house and excommunicated him from the family. And same with the 2 oldest kids who are like over 18. And then they like severely abused the 2 little kids, like to the point where like they're both in jail for 30 years.
I thought there were 6 kids, though.
There are
What
6
happened to the
kids.
2?
The middle 2, I think, are still technically minors, so they didn't really talk about them that much in the documentary. But the 2 that are adults now who are in the documentary, their faces are blurred out and their names are not mentioned because they're still minors. And the 2 middle, I believe, were like teenagers. And so they were like sent to a family friend's house of the mom, and the 2 little ones that were like probably 10,
Okay.
who were actually probably like easy to abuse because they were tiny still, were brought to Jody's house in Utah. And it was horrible, but crazy.
But even before Jody moved in, because I watched a Dateline or something on it, that even before Jody moved in, Ruby was posting things that were egregious.
It was
such that, like, how to be a good mom. Oh, you didn't do what you were supposed to do, so no food for you for the rest of the day.
Yeah, and that was like leading up to Jody moving into the house. So Jody was in their lives at that point, like pre that her even knowing about Jody. She did she was definitely strict and definitely to let social media take over her life, but she wasn't like not feeding her kids and abusing them. But then once it became like a downward spiral when the woman joined. So it was crazy.
And then the boy, it got found out because one of the boys escaped. And
yes, it was a boy, the youngest boy and the youngest girl. And literally his legs are like sticks. And he had duct tape and rope burns all over his like ankles and hands.
And they're both in prison now.
Yeah,
right?
for 30
Ruby.
years. And you can tell that something was wrong with her, Ruby, because when they arrest her, they were like asking her all these questions. And she was just like mute, nothing. And so who knows? And then there's a lot of things about the dad because the dad
and what's the dad doing?
Yeah, and the police cleared the dad because the dad was like, "Listen, I was excommunicated from the family, but it was weird because he was like, I chose to do whatever my wife at the time wanted because they were still married when he got kicked out of the house for a year. So he was like, I would have done anything to get back with her because I was so in love with her. And so he was like, I was told not to speak to the kids. And Bobby and I were both, okay, that's great. But like, you're also then a giant loser if that's really what was happening.
Like if you really want to be a father.
Yeah.
I just can't understand ever abandoning your kids. I don't understand that anything. Yeah. So I don't know what his situation was, what he felt was the best thing, but he obviously was somewhat of a victim in this, a little bit too, I think.
Yeah, like I don't think he was at fault for anything, but also he was complacent. And he admits that in the documentary. There's like a moment where he was like, I know if I made a different decision in that moment, this wouldn't have all happened. But it just sounds like one of those things. And there's been a couple other moms that have done it where like they spiral into this like religious cult where it literally seems like they do truly believe that there's like demons in their children and they have to kill them. And I don't understand how you get there. And then there's 2 older kids that like reported her basically. So that's what I watched this week.
Sounds uplifting.
Did you guys watch Traitors this week?
We're only 3 episodes in.
Oh
Watched
my
3
God, you can't put that on the
episodes.
list to talk about when you're not up to date.
How many episodes are there?
10.
Oh
We're
no.
behind.
They're almost the finals.
Well, they only had DirecTV at the Holiday Inn Express, and I can't figure it out. And I didn't bring a cord, so we couldn't watch anything.
Every time we travel somewhere, we get there and mom's, oh, I should have brought the cord.
How do you not in 2025?
You
have
say
a
that
TV
at
in
every
a hotel room
hotel.
that has connectivity
Because
to Netflix?
in
They
their
did have
rooms.
a DVD player.
You could go down and get a DVD out of the lobby.
I remember when we used to go to Turks and Caicos and we would stay at that resort, the Ocean Club, and the lobby had a whole DVD library, and we would get to
I
go down
do.
and pick a movie.
That was actually the best.
I
And it's
remember watching
Blockbuster, too.
Dreamgirls.
Yes. Every year we would watch it.
Oh, what a movie.
On Traders, I will just touch a little bit on the episode that we watched when they have the round table at the end where they vote somebody off.
I know we're behind, but we came to the show late. But I just don't know how these people aren't understanding who's who. Like, how do they not understand that?
Bob the drag.
I'm sorry.
Oh, Bob.
like-
I know. I love Bob. I also think it's just, from what I've heard, because Nick Vile interviews a lot of them on his podcast, it just seems like, one, you're seeing like an hour of a full day or two on there
Yes,
edited
yeah.
down. And two, you do have a bias because you know who they are already.
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier for us to think that way versus when
Yes.
you're in a house, you could have talked to someone for 2 minutes and maybe they by accident ignored you and you're like, oh, they're a traitor because they're trying to like keep to themselves. Like things that are not true, but you just assume
Yeah.
because you're literally looking at every single thing someone's doing versus just taking them at face value.
Well, we were laughing because Wells, the bartender from The Bachelor, get off. And he's so awkward and gets so nervous when they were questioning him. And
He had like sweat dripping
You,
down his
Maisie,
forehead.
Maisie, if you were on that show and you got accused, you would just start hysterically laughing and then be like,
Oh, yeah. Like, I would be the
yeah.
worst.
And mom would come too aggressive with being a lawyer and they'd be like, okay, you're clearly guilty. Like, you're out.
Zac Efron's brother's growing on me.
We
Dylan?
thought he was the
I thought he was
stupidest
a
one.
dummy.
He's the smartest.
Yeah, he's observant.
Also, Tom Sandoval makes for the best
Oh.
TV as you watch.
Oh my
No,
God.
you have to just accept him for who he is and watch him on this show because he is hysterical. He'll be
He
like,
drives me insane.
I think it's this person who like literally no one else thinks. He's I know it's them. And they're like, okay, Tom, like literally he's never right.
Meanwhile, Zac Efron's brother is up working out at 10:30.
I
at
know.
night with his.
Okay, those are obviously fake.
Those are just like made up.
Literally they have
videos.
someone putting on moisturizer like
I will only be on Traders if I can sit with my washboard abs at night in my pajamas.
okay, the poor guy he was made to do that. He probably was like, do I really have to do this? And they were like, Dylan, take off your shirt.
More power to him.
More
Right?
power to him. Everyone's like, he's the new favorite Efron brother. I'm like, poor Zach. Oh, wait, I have one comment. Maisie,
Yes.
you're going to get mad at me for making it, but it's funny. On one of the, like, mic interviews you did this week, when she's asking the question, I just heard your nose breathing.
On what? On the Epson tour thing?
You did. I feel like I need to like
The
go.
question was,
It must have been really sensitive, Mike.
and I'm like, oh, gosh.
For
it
those
was-
that don't know, Emma calls me Darth Vader because
She is
apparently
that
I breathe loud.
out of her nose, though, so it's like, but, and it's so.
We need Bobby to come in and do the impression he does of me because he always does it when I'm with him.
Your interview with him live on set. When
Yeah,
he's
he
here.
texted me and was like, "Can we do the
Yeah.
interview in person?" And I was like,
Yeah.
"Whoa, that's a lot of pressure, but sure."
It'll be nicer
I
to
gotta
do it
get
that way.
cracking.
It's like the
Honestly,
Let's go.
start playing. I'm gonna start playing some music like they do on the Oscars.
The Oscars are on tonight.
I had one more thing on the hot topics list. The Fire Festival coming back.
Oh gosh, yeah, and hasn't he collected like millions of dollars and there's no plan in
Yes.
place?
What
This
happened
point-
last time?
But at this point, it's no one else's fault but the people who are giving him money.
Yeah.
So I don't feel bad.
So last time he said he was having this big music festival.
He did
on
have
what
it.
Island? But what island?
It's a private island. That
private island. But people got there and there were no accommodations.
it was not as
tents, and it was a
advertised.
disaster,
They had no water.
and none of the talent ended up coming. right?
Correct, because they couldn't pay them or set them up to be
Couldn't pay them.
housed.
So he went to prison.
Yes,
Like,
he went to prison.
But now he's out, and he says
His
he's
name's
doing it again,
Billy something.
Billy, get
And
it
then-
together.
but now he supposedly has partners, and he's doing it again. And he had an interview, and he was so vague about it, but he had all these pre-sales. Not
People
really.
just want to
Honestly,
post
I
that they're part
remember
of this.
the original Fire Festival, I believe, was when I was graduating high school, and literally my friends and I in high school debated like trying to go to it because it looked really cool and you could rent a house and go to this music festival. Imagine if I was at Fire Festival.
But I think it was also at the
No, that would be a
inception-
disaster.
I think it's also
Mom would
the
have sued.
inception of influencers. When,
Yes.
things were really
Yeah,
building.
Because they were
Yes.
doing like promo, but they had like really famous people doing promo videos. For
Yeah.
it, like
Kendall
models
Jenner.
and stuff.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure
So-
Kendall Jenner got sued for it, even though she was like, I had no idea what was going on.
She probably just got a big check.
So on to our topic of the day, Maisie. Do you want to start?
Sure. So we decided that we need some more structure in this podcast. So we're gonna pick.
Thank you.
So we're gonna pick a topic every week that we discuss. And I thought it was great to start with confidence. So I put together some questions that we can discuss and we'll go from there. What is confidence to you?
Feeling comfortable with who I am.
Yeah, I like that.
There's a lot that goes into it, so we can get into it. I don't want to ruin all of your questions, so I feel like I'll
Yeah.
leave it at us defining it in a
The
sentence.
way you carry yourself through life.
Being true to who you are is a form of
Yes.
confidence because that means you know who you are.
Having strong like ethics, morals, and know that your judgments are correct. I thought this was an interesting question. Are you born with confidence or can you develop? Because I feel like there's people that are naturally born with this like extra level of confidence. Like they're just born a certain way where they're like outgoing and just true to who they are. And some people it takes longer to develop that sense
I
of
think it's both. I was definitely, I'm sure Mom will attest, born with a extra level of confidence.
that's exactly what I thought.
And my
of.
friends always say that about me too. They're like, you like know who you are and always have. But I think there's things that go into making sure that I stay confident. Like when I was thinking about this morning before we hopped on, like in work, right? Like I'm very confident in work, but you have to put in and prepare to be able to stay confident, right? Like I can't go into a meeting unprepared and be confident. So I have to make sure I'm like
That's true.
staying up with all like the things I need to know and understand to stay confident in a workplace environment, right? So I think it depends what you're talking about, but yes, like I was born with it, but I also continued to work at it and make sure that I'm doing things that promote confidence within myself.
But I think, ironically enough, you were the most clingy child until you were 3 years. We'd go to play dates or play groups, and you literally would sit on my lap and hold my clothing with your hand. And if anybody looked at you, touched you, talked to you, you'd go, eh. You didn't want to talk. And I said, Emma, we're not going to go to play group anymore if you don't want to play. And then all of a sudden you got to be 3 years old and you said, you know what? I'm going to talk a lot now and I like people.
Dad always said, you started talking and you never stopped, which is kind of true. I definitely have something in me that it's just natural. A lot of me doesn't even have to think about it. But I also think that's the way Mom, you and Dad raised us too. You didn't put doubt in us. And I think the way you and Dad talked about yourselves and lived your life made it easier for us to be confident because I can see in ways that like
That's
some
true.
like parents can affect confidence in their
But I
child.
think as a parent, I would say that it's allowing your child or yourself to have your personality, to know what your personality is and use that versus trying to be something you're not. So I think a lot of parents, if they have a shy child, they try to make them more outgoing, or if they have a boisterous child, make them calmer. And I don't know that you really have that much control over that.
Yeah.
I think you have to embrace who they are and let them flourish. And then once they can do that, they are comfortable in their own skin.
Yes. I agree. What do you think, Maze, as someone who you always talk about promoting your confidence and like continuing to build it? So what do you do to do that every day or throughout your life currently?
I go to a lot of therapy. No, I'm kidding. I would say I went into college not confident at all.
In all
Love.
aspects of your life, just
Yeah,
certain.
because I didn't love high school. I was like friends and familiar with everybody, but I was almost on the outside because I was a golfer. I was dedicating all my time to that. I wasn't out and partying, so I almost felt like I was like different, but not in the best way. And so I was like, I don't really know who I am. And so once I got to college and I was surrounded by similar minded people and I had more access to different types of people, it built my confidence.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's hard in what I do in golf because I know you shouldn't tie like your confidence to your successes and failures, but when that's all I'm really doing, it's hard sometimes when you're having a high. I'm like, I'm
Mom,
so
I'm
confident.
sorry. I hear the Roomba.
It wasn't supposed to be going off at this point.
Mom's
Literally,
Roomba
the Roomba.
is the bane of my existence.
It was under your bed at 2
And
a.m.
then it died, and it was like, please charge Roomba at 11.
There's a lot of lows in what I do. So sometimes it's hard to keep that confidence up. So I really try and just focus on all the great things in my life
Yeah.
that I have, like my family, my friends, everything I have going for me, because I think I'm pretty great. But I think it comes down to a lot of the people you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
Because if you're with a lot of people that are like down on themselves,
Yes.
it brings you down with them. But
Or down on life.
yes,
Okay.
because you
Negative.
guys are always say, Mom, I see her every day. She's going, going, going. She puts herself together every day. And she's never like in PJs all day. So I think those types of
Was
things
that targeted
can
at me?
really keep you confident. No, you get up and do things
That's
besides
true.
on the weekend.
Are you feeling seen, Emma?
I'm feeling seen. My 12 p.m. deadline today is because I have a massage at 12:15.
Oh, I'm jealous.
Well,
I agree, but I also don't think it's abnormal to get confidence from like your success in your career. Like I
Yeah.
gain confidence from like when I do things at work that I'm like, oh, I had a really good meeting or something. I'm like, oh, I feel more confident. But that's also just how you continue to grow your confidence and maintain it is by succeeding at things.
That ties into when you say you have to prepare and work hard at whatever you're doing. I think that gives you confidence in that
Mhm.
you're working hard and doing the right things.
Yes.
So that gives you even further confidence.
Yeah. You can't be confident if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm going to be confident about
But
it.
I think that growing confidence, a lot of it comes from taking risks and doing things that make you nervous that you're not accustomed to. And I still try to push myself to do that, whether it's at work or doing something like this podcast. It's very, very different and new and nerve wracking because I can't be my usual control freak. So I think once you're able to push yourself to do something new, that allows you to think, I made it through that and I did okay, and confidence to do other things.
Yeah.
Take other chances.
I agree. I also was thinking like I think we've talked a lot about like confidence in like work and how that feeds into it, but I think it also really you have to be confident in yourself to succeed in like your personal life too, not just like romantically relationship wise, but like friendships too. Like I feel like I am very like comfortable in my friendships because like I'm confident in who I am and I know my friends love me and I love my friends, so it's not something that like we're not like 12 seeking validation from each other all the time,
Yes.
especially as you grow and everyone's creating their own lives and everyone's so busy. Like having confidence that in your friendships and in yourself helps to be successful. Because if I was always worried, like, do my friends still like me? Like I would be stressed every day because we don't all talk every day, every minute.
But I think if you're confident, you attract other people as friends, as colleagues,
Yes.
and you're more successful at work because people respect that. They know who they're dealing with.
Yes. I think being like having a sense of confidence in social situations like translates so well into the professional world because not a lot of people these days can just walk into a room and strike up a conversation. And I don't know why that is, but it is definitely like a skill that is more hard to come by when I meet new
Because
people.
of social media.
That's been a goal of mine now that I'm out of school and I'm traveling for golf, it's lonelier sometimes on the road. So I've really made an effort when I'm at tournaments to be the first person that goes up to somebody and strikes up a conversation. And that's not something that I normally do. I almost get scared or nervous for no reason. But Mel Robbins had this whole thing about be the first one to do it. And it's actually been great.
Also,
And it gets easier.
But sometimes it's the other person is thinking
I
that
was
they're
gonna
relieved when you approach
That's
them.
what she was saying. So
Yes.
now I'll try my best to be, hi, how are you? Or ask them something like, I saw you posted this or something like that.
I also always think of it in the reverse, right? If someone came up to talk to me at an event, I would never think that's weird. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
that's so nice that they wanted to
exactly.
talk to me and say hi. So it goes both ways.
I think another thing that for me, confidence is trying some sort of new workout routine or doing something new, like any kind of workout that's a challenge that's different.
Yes.
Whether it's going to a new class, taking a new class.
It's such a fine line these days. And I was thinking this week when I had the really busy work week and was also trying to make time to work out and make dinner for myself and do all of the things that I know, like you said, make me feel better about myself when I go to bed at night. It's hard because I feel like social media makes you feel like you're never doing enough because you're always seeing someone doing more than you're doing. But you don't know what their normal life is like. Maybe they don't have a stereotypical 9 to 5 job, so they can work out first thing in the morning and then do all this stuff throughout the day that maybe I don't have time to do. So it really comes down to like comparison is the thief of joy, which is like such a cheesy saying, but it's so true because it's hard to feel like you're doing enough because I feel like I'll go on like TikTok or something and I try to get myself off of it and be scrolling and be like, oh, this person is doing this workout and they are eating so healthy all day, every single day.
They made sourdough bread. They canned all their own
Yes.
vegetables. They prepared all their meals for
Yes.
2 weeks.
And they're dressed perfectly every day and they have a perfect skin. And it's not their fault. They're not picking on my insecurities. And I'm like, oh, like I have a zit on my face this week. I don't think anyone nowadays tells themselves they're proud of themselves a lot. And I came home to Bobby the other day and I was like, you know what? I'm proud of myself these days. And he was like, I know you don't say that enough because I don't. Because I'm always like, okay, like on to the next. This is great, but I need to do more. And I think it's easy to have that hustle culture mindset, especially as a woman, because it's like women can have it all. You can be a wife and a mom and work.
I think a lot of parents of my generation would say they just want their kids to be happy. And my response always was, that's not really the goal. It's to make them productive human beings that are contributing to the world in some way. And letting them be and develop into what they're supposed to develop.
Yes.
What their skills are, and not making everybody have to be whatever you think your version of a success is. So many cocktail parties, every single person would say, oh, he or she is going to be an investment banker. That was the thing for a long time. And not that there's anything wrong with that if that's really what you want to do. But for a while I said, why do they want to do that? And most people didn't have a response for that.
Yeah.
They just thought that was the track their child was on based on the school they went to.
Or in their head, what they deemed successful, which I think is also not even necessarily always like a negative thing someone's doing or a conscious thing someone's doing, but it's like a subconscious. If my kid or if yourself does X and X and you're successful, but there's so much more to life than work. I think it's you just take a step back sometimes to be like, okay, I'm doing my best and I don't need to be going at speed 100 every minute of every day.
And take the time to think about what you really like to do on a daily basis. What is it you want to do with your life? Because a lot of these careers seem glamorous, but in application, they aren't necessarily glamorous if you are working 95 hours and have no other.
I think when I was deciding on my career, I was thinking about going into investment banking and something where I was an econ major in college and was like, that's like the best in air quotes job you could get at the time. But then I was like, wait, do I really want to go into a job where potentially I'm working crazy hours every night? I value a balance in my personal life and work life. So finding a career that you could be successful in while having things outside of work, because
you said, I love insurance.
Exactly.
Give me insurance.
Exactly. I know. Who would have thought?
It was the least likely job I would have picked for you. It's perfect for you.
So everyone has to say one tip of how you can build confidence daily. And mine is, I actually think it's from Mel Robbins, but don't quote me on that. but to high five yourself in the mirror every day. And I've started doing it the past couple days, and it feels weird, but it makes me laugh.
Do you touch the mirror?
Slap the
Yeah, it's just like a tap.
You know what mom's thinking right now? The handprints on her mirror. I gotta go clean.
She's gonna go inspect.
that.
But anyway, so it's apparently proven to build confidence. So we'll see how it goes.
I think also, like mom said, is pushing yourself a little bit each day. That's so dependent day to day, but I found that helps me a lot too. Okay, yeah, I'm really tired and I don't want to fold my laundry today, but I'm going to push myself to do something that I don't want to do in the moment, but that I know is going to make me feel accomplished, even if it's something as little as folding your laundry or wiping down the counters in your kitchen, depending on the day, right? Or maybe it's, I don't want to go to the workout class after work, but I'm going to do that. So I always try to take one step further to push myself, even if I'm tired.
Or like complimenting a stranger, like, oh, I love your top.
Yes.
My pet peeve with compliments, and mom taught me this too, is like, it's
like
good
it,
at
though.
receiving a compliment is very hard because a lot of people like, you're like, oh, I like your shoes. I like yours too.
Oh, no, then that feels weird.
Yeah,
but
but
if
most
someone
people,
compliments me, I'm like, oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, of
I got it
course.
from here.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think my challenge I make for myself every day is to have an interaction with somebody new that I haven't met yet.
Okay, you literally are a magnet, so never a problem.
But somebody
I like that.
I like that.
Mom, your signature, you might hate me for this, but when we're like in a store or whatever and something happens, you're commenting on it, but like with a megaphone voice so that she can get involved with other people in a conversation. If it's like something's taking forever, oh, can you believe it's taking this long? And she's like looking around. Like she's not looking at me that she's saying it to. She's like to other people, like around, just like the general area. And someone usually
find somebody to be on my team.
Yes,
I think that's where her sighing came in from because like she's
yes.
always, even when she's not annoyed, but like dad is like, you need to stop sighing because she'll walk around the house like as if like she's had the worst day ever and we're all like, but she's fine. But it just comes off, and I feel like you definitely do that in public too, where you're like huffing and puffing in the back of the grocery line. Someone's, ma'am, are you okay? And you're like, actually, I'm not okay. Now that you ask.
You know why? Because there's a guy in line and he has 12 items in the 10 items or fewer line.
Okay, but
And he's screwing up all of society.
imagine if mom worked at the 10 per item checkout. She'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You're out. Instead of being customer service focused and saying, that's totally fine. We're going to go with it.
Do you want a chaotic society or do you want some order?
There's no gray area for mom. It's black and white.
I want to close out today's episode by my last anecdote of the week, which was at Maisie's golf tournament. And I was not allowed to caddy, as we talked about. So I was a spectator purely. And I did get to meet the dad of the other girl she was playing with, who's a caddy. He was a very interesting man. He had flowy gray hair. And come to find out,
the Japanese rock star?
Yes, the Japanese rock star. And do you know what they call him? The Japanese pit.
They do not.
They do.
Are you just saying that?
Who told you that?
Are you just making that up?
Tell me you're lying.
No, he looks like the Japanese.
Okay, but
pitbull.
you're making up.
He has long hair.
You're just making up. They call.
He did have a certain swagger to him, didn't he?
The epitome of my life is that I was sitting at my desk this week and I see an email come in and it's like introduction. I'm like, oh, someone wants a job or I'm working with someone new. And it's like, Emma, I saw your name come up on an email I was tagged on too. And I know your mom and your sister super well. And I was like, that has to be Maisie Filler and Jennifer Filler's like sister and daughter. Backstory is that like I work in a company where I don't know anyone. I didn't know anyone before I started, yet someone always knows my dad. Anyways, this person had played with Maisie in the Pro-Am for the
multiple times.
2 years in a row and for the ShopRite.
Shout out to him because I love him.
And he's gone to see Maisie play and he's obsessed with her. And it was just the most classic but funny thing ever. I'm like, oh, I can't even. Like everyone I know either finds out Maisie is a cool golfer and it's we have to follow her or follows Natalie on Instagram or all the things. Your sisters are cool. You're not.
true.
I know, pretty cool.
Perhaps you're like the coolest out of all of us because you go on like cool trips and you get
I do?
like, I think you do. The
You're the
life in the
approver.
summer, I want.
You're
Oh.
the approver on so many things. If we send you something that we've purchased, you're like, no, put that in the bag immediately and return it.
I know. Mom sent me some pants she was trying on this week that I was like, she has to be joking.
Hey, what are they? Are
And
jackets?
I go, you're joking, right? You look like a Jack in the Box. Look at her, but like, look, the side.
Why are the knees out like that?
Because they're like those bow-legged things. They're so bad.
They're very, I'm told they're hip.
Maybe there's a reason they're in that store.
And this is the length of the text Mom sent me on the itinerary for the week, which is a full paragraph. And she thought we could take Otis and Louie to this.
Yes, why can't we?
Well, we
pick
can
it
take
up.
Louie, but Otis will literally like axe murder like a Doberman pinscher and then get bitten or something.
And Leo will shake and his spit will go over all the.
And then we'll have to
very
buy
expensive
like
books.
an Hermes Birkin or something because he shook in the wrong store, you know?
What's so wrong with that? No. Anyway, that's our show. Next week, we will be talking about friendships.
live and
And for our 4 followers, if you have any questions, comment on our Instagram. We'll answer them next week.
And like and subscribe, please.
see ya.
Follow.
Bye.